A couple of months back, I created a video to share 10 powerful features of Scrivener that you may not have known about. Turns out Scrivener has a lot of features, and there were a bunch of them that I wasn't able to cover, so in this video we're going to talk about 10 more features you might not have known even existed. We'll talk about managing your open Scrivener projects, using focus mode to keep out the clutter, typewriter scrolling, revision colors, how to use the Copyholder, quick reference panel, and Scratchpad, and a few more. So let's dive right in. Hey, if you're new to the channel, I'm Brad Bollier, and I'm a full-time fantasy and science fiction author with a dozen novels, tons of short stories, and 20 plus years of experience in the field of writing. I started a novel approach to share some of the hard-earned lessons I've learned about writing, editing, publishing, and the business of writing. If any of that sounds up your alley, be sure to subscribe, and if you find this video useful, I hope you'll like, share, and maybe even buy me a coffee on ko-fi.com. Link in the description below. Okay, so the first feature I want to show you is the organization of your projects and visibility through the tab bar. So right now I have 3 separate projects. I have one that I just used to show how to start a new Scrivener project, another one that is an earlier version of my latest book, A God of Countless Guises, and the third one is a future project, The Well of Ancients. The projects themselves don't matter. What I do want to show you is how to pull these together. So right now they are 3 separate windows. They're not together, but we can do under Window, merge all windows. So if we do that, it's going to create the tab bar. Let me show you one thing quickly though. If I go under View, I can show the tab bar. Right now it's turned off. So if I show tab bar, it will waken that tab bar area. You don't need that if you're not using the tab bar for a specific reason. So normally it's off. So I'm just going to hide that for the time being. If I come back here and go to Window and then merge all windows, it'll find those 3 windows and make them separate tabs in the same interface. So here again, here's my compile example from Well of Ancients that I used. Here's A God of Countless Guises. And then here, the rightmost tab is my show labels, that initial project I created, the simple one. And so I can flip back and forth like a browser style interface where I can go to different projects at will. So now that we've done the merge all windows, that's grayed out, and I can go to like show previous tab, show next tab, move tab to new window. So I can pull these out and make them their own separate windows. I could use that feature, or I can just click on this tab here, this part of the tab bar, and that will make it this sub window, this tiny window. And if I let go, it becomes its own separate interface, its own window, separate from the other 2. And if I go back to those other ones, either one here, Countless Guises, let me go here, I can see that is still connected to the other one in this tab bar. So those 2 are there. So however many projects you have, when you do that merge all windows, it will put them as tabs. You can pull one or more of them out if you want to. One of the reasons you might want to have something separate is if it's a reference, like an earlier volume in a series, you could have that as your reference in either part of the window that you're using, maybe a large window, or a separate window. I use my laptop's screen as a secondary window, so I could put that there, for example, or any other monitor that you have available. And that's just there and visible at all times if you want it to be. And then in the main window, you can have whatever tabs you're needing at the time. Now that I've separated that other project, this merge all windows under Window is back. It's not grayed out anymore. So I can click on that again and it will just merge it one more time. And let me show you one more thing. If you go under View and then Show All Tabs, it will make them kind of miniature versions so that you can kind of see what's in them. You can see the titles maybe a little bit easier, and even the binder and the inspector if those are currently shown. And you can just click on one and it'll flip to that. So I go back to View, Show All Tabs, then I can flip to the other one. So there's lots of ways to navigate and view projects, and this is one of them, this tab bar that gives you the ability to flip back and forth very quickly between these projects. Let me show you one more thing that may be of use. Since we mentioned the notion of having an older project, maybe an earlier volume in a series open, if you had them open in these tab bars, you can move documents between the different projects quite easily. So let's say, for example, I wanted to move something in this research tab, this big lessons document I keep about things to keep in mind while I'm editing. Maybe I want to move that over to this Countless Guises project. So I can select that, drag it, and then bring it up here. And if you just hold it for a little while, it will flip over to that project. So now that is the focus. And I can move it to the binder wherever I want, and it will copy that document over. So I'm just going to move it down over here and let go, and it just makes a copy and puts it in here. It still exists in the original location. That is a copy operation, not a move. And so I have it in both places. So that tab bar can be quite useful for a number of things, not just flipping between projects. The second feature I want to show you is focus mode. And focus mode is available in both composition mode and regular editing mode. Let me go to composition mode first. So I'm just going to click in this document here, and I'm going to go under View and then enter composition mode. So again, this editor allows you to, it strips away a lot of the menuing and the different features, the binder, the inspector, and so on, and allows you just to focus on a single piece of writing at a time. These could be multiple scrivenings that you're viewing together, multiple documents, or it could be a single document. But the point is, it kind of strips away a lot of the busyness of the interface so that you can focus on the writing. And you can do things like change the paper width. You can change the position. You can change the zoom. Now I've made that a little bit larger. If I go to focus mode here, if I click on this, it'll allow me, it's off right now. I can go to line, sentence, or paragraph. If I focus on the line, it will highlight the line that I'm currently on, regardless of whether or not there's multiple sentences like here, and it will kind of gray out. You can still see the other text, but it's grayed out. So it focuses your mind a bit on just what you're writing and kind of puts a slight layer of fog over the rest of the writing. So you might find that this helps you concentrate and stay in the moment, and you have options. So you can go to, and let me just show you this. So if I scroll down, you see that it's always staying on the current line, again, regardless of sentence. But if I switch to sentence mode, focus sentence, it'll highlight the current sentence. So if I scroll over here and I just go a couple of characters, we see that it changes to this sentence. So it's always focusing on one sentence at a time. And then, of course, focus paragraph is the current paragraph. I don't use this a lot, but when I do, I like the paragraph version. So you can just try this for an editing session or a writing session or two and see if it helps you. And then if I exit out and come to the regular interface, I can do the same thing here. So I have this in my toolbar. I can change the focus mode here, and I can go to line, and it will just do the exact same thing. You can also change this under View, Text Editing, Focus, and it has the same options. So I'll just switch over to Sentence. So just the same deal. And by the way, if you have it on the toolbar, if you click on the icon, not the arrow, this little down arrow, it will turn it on and off. So I can just click on that over and over. It'll turn it on and off. If I click on the down arrow, it lets me pick one of these options. So I'll go to paragraph, and again, it just focuses on current paragraph. The third feature I want to show you is typewriter scrolling. So this is applicable in the composition mode. So let me go under View and then composition mode again. And let me just turn this off, the focus mode. And down at the bottom, we see this typewriter. I'm going to click that off. So currently typewriter is off. And with it off, if I click anywhere and type something, just type some random characters here, the screen doesn't do anything. Scrivener just lets the cursor remain right there. All right, so let me come back down here and I'll turn typewriter scrolling on. And when it's on, it will, you see how it just snapped it to the center. But let me just click down here, for example, and I'll start typing again, just any characters. And you see how it moved everything up to the middle. Now, where it snaps it to on the screen is configurable as well. So if you go under Scrivener settings, under the editing tab, there's certain options. And one of those options is typewriter scroll line. I can change it to middle of the editor. So right in the middle, top third, top quarter, bottom third, bottom quarter. So let me change it to bottom quarter, for example, and I'll come back. So now if I go anywhere and start typing, you see how it moved me down here. And if I scroll up a little bit, start typing again, it will snap it again to that bottom quarter or third or top, whatever you have chosen. Now, there is an option to not have it jump automatically. So you may or may not want it to do that automatically every time. And so that was that. If we go under Scrivener settings one more time, this typewriter scrolling always jumps to scroll line. I'm going to uncheck that. It's still set to the bottom third. Let me just go up here. I'll start typing and it doesn't move until I do Command J. So I'll do Command J and then it jumps. So it allows me to select when it's going to snap to the position. And again, the actual position is configurable. There is a menu selection for that jump as well. If you're going to Edit and then Find, there's Jump to Selection. So that selection is the position that you've chosen for the typewriter scrolling. So if I come in here and do that Command J, it will jump towards the bottom. I'm going to go back to the settings and I'm going to check that so it does jump to wherever. I'm going to go to the middle of the editor again. So I just start typing and it snapped to the middle of the current editor. So it will work for, again, either composition or regular editing mode. The fourth feature I want to share with you are revision colors. If you are editing anywhere in your document, it's going to use the default colors for the background, foreground, font color, that sort of thing. But if we go under Format and Revision Mode, we can select different revisions. And each of those revisions has different colors associated with them. The reason we'd want to use this typically is if you're working on your book, you're writing the second revision. So you've drafted your story and now you're going to change it and you want to see what you've changed over time. So when you're working on that next revision, first revision, second, so on, you just choose that. So if I click here, now I'm in revision mode and anything I type will show up in that red color. I didn't choose a different color. I didn't go to the formatting bar and select that. It's just a function of me having selected first revision in revision mode. So now you might have finished up all of your revisions on the first pass and then you want to do a second one. So you can go back to revision mode and do your second revision. And then I could do third revision and so on. As you're looking through your text, you can see visually when certain changes, additions, different texts were added to the manuscript. And you may have some value out of that. That may give you some insight as to what's going on, how the story changed over time as you head closer and closer to your final draft. So once those things are there, you will at some point not want them there anymore. So if you go under Format, Revision Mode, there's a couple of options. You can either remove all revisions, in which case it will get rid of the colors, not the text, just the colors, or you can remove current revision color. So let's do that one first. We're currently, as we can see, under third revision. So I'll click on that and you see how it just changes to white. It just got rid of that revision color. So you can no longer see that. That history is sort of gone at that point, which again, at some point is what you're going to want. Now let me go back, Format, Revision Mode, and I'm going to get rid of them all. So remove all revisions. And we can see it got rid of first and second and third was already removed. So you may find use out of that long term. I will say one other great way to use this potentially is if you have an editor or a beta reader, a friend who's reading it, another author. If they use Scrivener, you can set it up so they, first of all, set the revision mode to whatever color is best for you guys. So you could select first revision, and then any edits if they make an edit in line instead of a comment, and maybe you want to do that for like simple mistakes, like why for typos put in a comment that you then have to go and make that change for. As long as you see what's there, you can still stat that change, you can still undo it, but it may just be easier for you both to have them change that in lines again instead of a comment. And so if this had some kind of typo in it, and you wanted it to be something else, they could go make those changes. You can see them at any time. And you can also search for these. So it's not just a matter of looking through the document and scanning for red marks. You can search for this as well. So let me just undo some of these changes so I can get those back. Okay, so here I have my first, second, third revision back. If I go to the top here, I can go to Edit, Find, and then Find by Formatting. So let me click on that. And you have a bunch of options for find by formatting. And one of them is revision color. So if I choose revision color, and don't worry, I'm going to come back to this. This is the next thing that we're going to cover. But just for now, I'm going to go to revision color, and I can search in all documents. I can look for first revision, second, third, whatever. And so it searched and it highlights, it found that first revision. And so just like regular find, you can do Command G on the Mac. So let me just make another change way at the bottom here for another revision. Okay, so new first revision. Let me go back to the top here. I'm just going to do another find. So we'll go back to edit, find by formatting. So I'm going to do next. It'll find that first one. And then if I come back here and go to the next, it'll find the next one. So you can just keep scrolling through the revisions, looking at them, maybe accepting them or leaving them all and then marking them all as complete, that sort of thing. Let's look for the second revision instead. Do next. So here I have one in a previous one. Let me just go back to that because I looked in all the documents. Let me go back here. I'm going to go to the top again and I'm looking for second revision. Click next. It found that one. And then third revision, same deal. So it's a really nice way to be able to organize your edits, you know, the passes that you make, either you or a collaborator maybe. So that's yet one more way you could possibly use this. If you are writing collaboratively, you could go through a pass of some document, maybe a scene, chapter, what have you, and do it all in the regular default fonts. And then your collaborator could do the first revision in a color, the second one would be yours, the third one would be theirs again. So you're kind of going back and forth, and it might be interesting to see or important to see and know who made what changes, at least maybe early on, you know, before you get to the final editing passes where you'll get rid of all that stuff. Okay, the fifth feature I want to show you is find by formatting. So we've already seen one example here, but there are others that we can do. So you can look for highlighted text. If you've selected it and colored it in some way, you can find that. You can look for comments and footnotes if you've added those to your maybe nonfiction project or even fiction, annotations, footnotes, etc. If you've colored it a certain way, so this is separate from the revision color. The revisions are treated slightly differently than the colored text. The style, maybe the character format. So one of the most common examples is character format, at least for me. I might want to find all the places that are italicized. And if I move something from Scrivener to, say, a layout program for a print book that I'm going to upload to some online marketplace, I want to make sure that the italics got moved over properly. That's a very common place of errors. The layout programs sometimes drop the formatting. And so I just want to look for italics. So if I look for character format, and this is already selected, but it might be unselected. So I could look for bold, italics, underline. So let me make this a bit bigger here. So bold, italics, underline, strike through, keep with next. I'm just going to undo that. I'm going to look for italics and all documents again, just go to next. So it finds the next chunk of text that is italicized. And if I come back, I can look for the next one and the next one, et cetera, et cetera. So here it found at the bottom this move around his work. Keep in mind, find by formatting can be a lifesaver if you're trying to look for links in your document to make sure they're correct, perhaps. Or maybe you're worried they didn't get moved, so you just want to check them. See where they are in the original, and then look for them in the exported document. Images, tables, and then preserved formatting text. So lots of ways to look for things other than straight text, straight characters within your document. So that was 5 in total so far. The next 5 are revolving around visibility of text mostly. So 4 out of the 5 are going to follow that vein. So the first one is Copyholder. So I might be working on, say, this third chapter, and I want the first chapter to be easily available. So I'm just going to right-click on this one in the binder. If I go down to Open, one of the options I have is in Copyholder. So I'll click on that, and it opens it up wherever the copyholder position is currently defined as. So I can look at that under View, Editor Layout, and then Copyholder Position. So right now it's set to the right. I could have it on the left, the top, bottom. So let's do the bottom. Maybe I have kind of a tall monitor. And so I can see my referenced scene on the bottom here. And then here I can go to the other chapter and start working on that. And I can just scroll up and down through this other document and reference things that happen because it affects the current scene. So that's one way you could use this copy holder. So when I first started looking into this particular feature, I wondered, why does it exist? I mean, you can open up two editors, right? And use one as the reference scene and the other one as the current scene. But maybe what you're working on is a little bit complex and you really do have a need for two editors plus a reference for the third. So let me just show you. So if we open up both editors by clicking on this icon here, so I have my left editor, I have my right editor, which is now split into two. And so at this point, I have the edit I'm working on top, the scene I'm working on, my reference, and then maybe some other document over on the left-hand side. Note now that this is kind of restricted. I don't have a lot of space here anymore. And so yet one more thing you can do is to take this quick panel and change it to a quick reference panel. So if you hover over this icon right here, and it says open document in a quick reference panel and close copy holder pane. So I'll click on that. And so now it's its own pane. And this is editable. I can change things in here. I can type in here, no problem. And I still have the other ones available. Now this is kind of messy, right? I have this other stuff in the background and this quick reference panel here. But if you have lots of real estate, if you have a secondary, even 3 monitors, well, you could move this over to another monitor. And that leaves you your 2 main editors to work with while having the quick reference panel available. So that's kind of the strength. You have lots of ways that you can use your 2 editors and the copy holder / quick reference panel. And so that gives you that ability. Let me close this here temporarily. Let me show you one more thing with regards to the copy holder before we move to the next subject. I do have the ability to navigate a little bit. So if I right click right here on this title, it has top, bottom. I can change where it's being shown. So if I move that to the top, I can see the other document here and our copy holder is here. Let me move it back to the bottom. We can also reveal in binder if we ever forget where this is back in the binder. I can also look at recent. So I'm currently looking at Shiv and Neera talk to Farrell, but if I want to go back to some other copy holder document, I can do that as well. So this has a navigation ability as well. Okay, let's move on to number 7, which is viewing a snapshot. There's a few different ways that we can do this. If I open this, actually I'm going to make this a single editor over here. And then if I go to my snapshots panel, it's sometimes pretty important to look at your old versions to see, I don't know, something that you changed but you didn't mean to change. You want to see how things were when you first wrote them, what have you. And so there's different ways that you can do that. If you go into the inspector and this snapshot subpanel, you can see all the snapshots that you've made. And so if I click on any one of these, it will change down here. And you can change this so that it's larger, but I'm just going to assume that we don't want to do that. We want to look at it in a different way. And so one of the quickest ways is to just click and drag this over to the title bar. You see this bar right up on top, just drag it and drop it there. And it will then show that snapshot in the editor. And we can see that it changes the icon here. So that's changed to like a little snapshot. And we cannot edit this anymore. I can't click in here and edit anything because it's a snapshot. It did keep track of this in the navigation, so I could click back and go to that previous document. I could also look at it in the copy holder if I wanted to. So I can right click here and I can say view on copy holder instead of just changing it to that main editor view. So if I choose that, then it has the copy holder again at the top or the bottom, or I can move it to left or right. So if I go under view, editor layout, copy holder position, let's go to the right. So now the snapshot is over here, the original is over here, and I can see both. Now, one more thing that you might want to do, let me just close that, come back over here. So let me come back to the snapshot panel. One of the things that's fairly common to do is to want to know what changed between some snapshot and the current version. So instead of just looking at the snapshot, you want to see the changes. And so let me click on an older one here. I'll right click on this and I'll say view changes on copy holder. So if I select that, it does a Unix style diff. It shows removals in red and struck through. It shows additions in blue and regular text. And so you can just scroll through and kind of see what changed between, again, here's the current version, and then here's the changes based on my selection of a September 2024 document. So that's a really useful way to use the Copyholder as well. The eighth feature that we've already mentioned is the quick reference panel, but there's a couple of different ways that you can look at that you can open it. We've shown one, if you have a Copyholder open, you can turn that into a quick reference panel. One quick feature that you can use is by clicking a document over in the binder. If you hit space, I'll do that here, it opens that in a quick reference panel. So if you're kind of moving around quickly and you just want to open something, again, to perhaps move it to another part of your large monitor or a secondary monitor, you hit space, it comes up with this quick reference panel, and you can then use it, move it wherever you want. You can also, if you want, right-click that, and there's this little open menu that we looked at before with reference to Copyholder, but we can open something as a quick reference here as well. And you can do this in other editor too. If you're using the left editor and you want to open something in the right editor, whichever editor you're currently focused on will be considered the main editor, and the other one will be the other editor. So for now, I'm just going to open this in the quick reference, which does exactly what we did before with the space bar. And then one last way we can do it, just to be complete, is if we go under Navigate, Open, it has that more or less same submenu. So as quick reference. So now the question may arise, what if I want to have two things open in a quick reference panel? So let's open this one in the same way. So now it opened the one that I selected, and I have two tabs. Just like I can have multiple projects open in tabs, I can have multiple quick references open with multiple tabs. So I could flip back and forth between these. I can also pull one of these out as a separate window, just like I can a project if I want. Again, you can arrange these however you want. So just, I don't know, a very configurable interface to let you show whatever you want to show in your various projects in different ways. There is some overlap between these for sure, but so what? Just, learn what's available to you, and you can customize it to however you want to look at your project's reference material to be the most creative, the most efficient, etc. The ninth feature I want to show you is the Scratchpad. So the Scratchpad is meant to be kind of a area where you can jot things down. It's not so much a reference tool as it is a creativity tool, a way to keep your thoughts a bit organized if they're not specific to any project perhaps. So I can bring it up initially just to take a look at what's there under Window and then Show Scratchpad. So click on that. And so this will come up, and I just have a note here. This is the Scratchpad, but I have a document, let's call it brainstorming notes and first draft edits. So that's, maybe some way you would want to use it. Like if you're working on a current draft and you want to be able to bring this up quickly and jot down a note and get back to work as soon as possible, that's one way that you could use the Scratchpad. For example, if I'm working on brainstorming notes for some future project, I may not even have that project created. And so I can jot down ideas in this particular paper in my Scratchpad and just add to it as time goes on. And then as I'm working on the current edit for the current project, I can jot down some notes, and then maybe at the end of that, I want to send this to the project. Like I'll keep it as, again, just one piece of paper in my Scratchpad, and then when I'm ready, I can send it to a project. So let's say I'm working on God of Countless Guises edits, and I want to either add it to as a subdocument or append to, so I can keep running notes if I wanted to as well. So let's just do a subdocument of plotting and brainstorming, for example. I'll just put it there. So now if I go under God of Countless Guises and I look under my plotting and brainstorming, I can see this first draft edits document has just been created, and this is the Scratchpad, but you could have whatever you wanted in there, just running notes again. The way that you bring this up quickly, so let me show you under Scrivener settings and then general, and then finally Scratchpad. So it has a hotkey. So you can choose what the hotkey is. Mine is Shift Command Enter, and you can bring it up. So that's the nice feature about it is if I'm working on anything, I can just Shift Command Enter, it comes up. Shift Command Enter again, it goes away. So it's just a really fast way. Bring it up, take a note, get rid of it. And bringing up some other text from some other document, writing down a note, and then using the navigation keys to get back. It's just a really quick way to do this. And again, it's independent of project. And so you can use things in the Scratchpad, bring it back up here, for any project. And so you may have different things that you're creating over time that you'll eventually drop into one of your projects. It might actually create a new project. So like here, for example, brainstorming notes for my next project. I could create a brand new project and then drop this in there, and that'll get me started a bit faster than if I had to start again from scratch at that point. So just a way of organizing your thoughts over time for whatever project you're working on, multiple projects. Lastly, the 10th feature is bookmarks. And there are two types. There are project bookmarks and there are document bookmarks. Let's cover documents first. So let's go back to Wall of Ancients, a little bit simpler. And under your inspector, there is a bookmarks subpanel here. So document bookmarks, there are currently none. Let's take an example where this Jasper pulls strings for Shiv. You want to create links to other places within the project, within the, say, novel that this affects. So let's say this has a direct bearing on the epilogue and you want to be able to notate that in some way. And so I could drag this epilogue in here, and that is now a bookmark for Jasper pulls strings for Shiv. Let me just pull in a couple of others. So maybe these last couple here are all related and you want to be able to reference them quickly. And you can move these however you like. I can shift these in any order. But the point is I can click on these and it shows those in this kind of like the snapshot view quickly. And just like the snapshots, I can view them very quickly too. I can right click on here and I can do open in current editor, open in other editor. Let's do that. So now I have two editors. The first one is where I was initially that has the bookmarks. So now let me click over on the right-hand side here. So note that this didn't have any bookmarks before, but it is connected to that previous one. So it created this for me. And that should be true of the other ones as well. If I go to epilogue, it has that same document bookmark because they're now linked together. If I click on this one, same deal. But if I click on interview with Jasper on the left-hand side here, there are none because this document was kind of blank initially. I didn't have any bookmarks. But by creating those for this Jasper pulls strings for Shiv, it created those in the other documents as well. So that isn't the only type of bookmark that you can have though. So let me go back here. So I have my three. Let's say I have some external website that I want to reference because it has some useful information for garb or food or what have you. So you can add an internal bookmark, which is we just did, and you can do that in different ways. You can do it through this submenu as well, but you can also add external bookmark. And so you can give it a title and a URL. Let's say you wanted to reference some website like the Literature and Latte site. So I could have something like, and then paste in their website, hit enter. And so now I can do a load web page, and it actually has browser functionality right inside of Scrivener. So let me simplify this. So I might want to look at their website, or this might be, again, a reference to architecture or an inspirational image of the character you're writing about, that sort of thing. One more thing you can do is to add an external file. So maybe you have an image downloaded and you want to use that as a reference. And so you don't have to have it necessarily inside of your project in Scrivener. So I'll add external file bookmark, and then maybe it's again, an image I want to have in here. So I'll say open, and now I have that Literature and Latte link, that website, which I can load web page for. And then here I have an image that I'm using for the audio for the second book I've got of Countless Guises in my series by the wonderful Tommy Arnold. That is now a bookmark that I can look at and reference quite easily. Document bookmarks are a nice way to organize things on a per document basis, but then there are project bookmarks as well. If we go into project we can say show project bookmarks. So these are not related to any particular document in your project. It's just related to the project as a whole. And here we have the same option. We can either add internal bookmarks, so we can kind of reference maybe important things that we want to keep track of via bookmarks and get to them quickly. So let's just take an example of here. So I want to keep the plot, the brainstorming notes here easily accessible. And then I may want to have, again, external bookmarks, a URL or a file. So we can do that as well at the project level. And then just like the document bookmarks, if I right click on these, I can open in current editor, other editor, view in current editor's copy holder, other editor's copy holder. So just lots of ways to look at and organize other outside material that you want to keep track of for a given project or document. And then once they are there, you can use this little minus here to get rid of them. So I can get rid of that one. Maybe I'll close these project bookmarks, get rid of that. And then I can come back here and same deal. I can get rid of any of them I want quite easily. I hope you get good use out of those 10 features, and if you haven't already, be sure to check out my Mastering Scrivener videos, which are tailored to help get the most out of Scrivener, but more importantly, to increase your output. As always, I hope you'll like and share with other writers and writing groups especially. I have a ton of videos I hope to tackle soon, so be sure to subscribe. Until then, dream big, stay positive, and keep writing. Peace, everyone.